it's hitting the headlines again. Full self-driving. Tesla, BYD, loads of companies are now really all believe they're on the verge of making this work. And yet most people out there just don't understand why it's such a big issue. I'm Dave, welcome to Dave Takes It On. So we're going to have a look into whether FSD, full self-driving, is for you, whether it makes any difference, and why they're working so hard on it. So let's just go back to the idea of cars before full self-drive or before EVs. And if you wanted to go somewhere, you used to get in the car, you had two or three pedals, you had a gear lever or automatic stick, you had steering wheel, indicators, mirrors, everything. You did everything. You set off driving, you changed gear, slowed down, speeded up, monitored the speed limit yourself. You did everything manually. And in the very early days, that extended to things like the ignition. Some of the very early cars, 100 years ago, you had an ignition advance and retard on the steering wheel. Electronic ignition was a long way away. So you did an awful lot yourself. And so we just got used over the years to having to drive. That's it. You jump in your car, and if you're going on a holiday and you're driving out to Cornwall and it's 6 hours drive down there, you sit there on the motorway, on the roads, 6 hours holding the wheel, watching, paying attention, pedals, everything else. That's absolutely fine. Then over the years, we've had some advances coming in. The first of those was cruise control. There was a lot of development under the bonnet, things like electronic ignition, then engine management systems, but we don't actually know what they do, so they're not important. But we started getting driver assistance features, and these were designed to make our driving better. So instead of on a 6-hour motorway drive having to keep your foot on the accelerator or covering the brake for the whole of the journey or operating the clutch, they invented something called autocruise or cruise control. And all this did, it was in the early days just a speed set. You would tell the engine management system, we want 70 miles an hour on a motorway, and it would set the speed as 70 miles an hour. You didn't have to put your foot on the accelerator anymore. Once you switched it on, your car did 70 miles an hour. And that was great. It used to take a lot of the strain away. Apart from having to watch it, because if you set it at 70 miles an hour and the guy in front is doing 65, you're going to run straight in the back of him. And there's nothing to stop it. So you still have to be in control of it. You just don't have to have your foot on the pedal. So consequently, that was very quickly superseded by an automatic system, an adaptive cruise control. And the adaptive cruise control is very simple. All it says is, you set your speed limit at 70 or slower if there's something in front of you which is reducing that. So if you're driving along at 70 miles an hour, your cruise control will hold you at 70 miles an hour. If you come across a car in front that's doing 60, your car will now slow down until it also is doing 60. If and when the car in front pulls off to the side, your car will accelerate back up to 70. Massive big breakthrough this. It made such a difference. Adaptive cruise control was a big breakthrough. It allowed you not to have to put your foot on the accelerator or the brake for a journey, 6-hour journey on a motorway. And I today use adaptive cruise control. That's built into the car, and on some journeys I literally don't touch the brake or the accelerator pedal for the whole of the journey. The car does it all. So that was the first of those, the auto adaptive cruise control. But then, of course, the next one that came along is, because adaptive cruise control, you have to be able to see ahead of you to what the car in front is doing with things like radar or cameras. The next development was, well, wouldn't it be nice if they actually knew what the speed limit was, so you didn't have to tell it every time. If you're going on a road which is 70 dual carriageway, 70 miles an hour, and then it goes down to 50, you have to then drop your auto adaptive cruise control down to 50. So let's put in speed camera, cameras which monitor the speed limit signs. And so if you're driving along and the camera saw a 50 mile an hour speed limit, it would then tell your adaptive cruise control, your speed limit now is 50. So slow down to 50. And these have come in, it's on my car already. So if I'm driving on a motorway and I hit roadworks, see 50 mile an hour signs, my car will slow down to 50 mile an hour. And again, if the car in front does 40, mine will slow down, etc. So that was a big development. And it's all designed to make our driving easier. The next big development was being able to stop if the traffic stops. And so some of the early ones, they had a cut-off around about 40 mile an hour. So under 40 mile an hour, you couldn't use them, adaptive cruise control. It was only when we got out onto a motorway. But later they became zero speed ones. So, for example, if you're driving along at 70, car in front's doing 70, then they suddenly put the brakes on and come to a halt, your car also will come to a halt. And then when the car in front moves, your car moves off as well and will go up to 70 or the speed limit or whatever's allowed. So again, these were all advances. Then we got automatic lane keeping systems, ALKS. And these were very simple. Again, just cameras, just watch the white lines in the road, and they would take over the steering. And they would say, right, you don't actually now have to steer, so you can take your hands off the wheel. So at this point, your car was now starting to do a lot of things that you used to do. And it just makes your life so much easier. You don't have to use it. They're all there. I quite often drive manually. I don't always use it. But I find if I'm going on a long journey, I will use it. I touch the wheel and touch the brake pedals and accelerator very, very rarely. So you're starting to get more and more automation into the system. And one of the things that came out really quite early on was that they're actually very good for stopping accidents. You see, we as drivers, if we look around to talk to the kids or look down to turn the radio or just, drift off into one of our little daydreams for a while, we can easily hit someone in front of us. What these driver assistance systems did was they took that away. So quite often when I'm driving now, I'll be, I wouldn't say daydreaming, but certainly not 100% concentration at every single second. And then all of a sudden the car will brake and, oh yes, that one's pulling out in front of me. So they're all designed to help us. And what they're proving to be is actually much more safe. They don't look away. They don't look at the kids. They don't drift off into a little daydream. They are there all the time monitoring what's going on. And so they're starting to become safer to use them than not use them. And I know a lot of people say, I'm a brilliant driver and everything else. Yeah, but on a 4-hour drive, there is no way in this world you can put 100% of your attention onto concentrating on exactly what your car's doing. It's not humanly possible. One quick example, if you want to see what's behind you, is it safe to overtake? You look behind you. At that point, car in front slams its brakes on, you've got an accident. If you have adaptive cruise control and you do that and the car in front stops, your car will stop even though you're not looking. You have to look around. You have to look at your mirror. You have to check the inside lane. You have to check. During these times, which we have to do, you're not watching forward. Automated system is. So there's an inherent safety built into this, which is very interesting. It's interesting for drivers. It's interesting also for the auto industry. It's interesting for the insurance industry. Should, in theory, cut down accidents. So going from there is the big jump that everyone is waiting for. Everyone in the industry is waiting for. And the reason is that I've got adaptive cruise control, I've got automatic lane keeping, I've got automatic speed limit recognition, I've got automatic overtake. So if I'm coming up across a car that's going slower than me and it's clear in the outside lane, my car can go out, can switch lanes automatically. We've got all of this, and they're actually very, very impressive and a very good safety feature. But At all times, I'm in control of the car. I have to keep an eye on what's going on. I have to be in the driver's seat. I have to be aware of what the car is doing, and I take full control because I am in charge. If anything goes wrong, it's my fault, not the system. System is an assistance. It's not a takeover. It's not a full self-driving system. So, some of the cars have features that make sure that you do pay attention. So mine, for example, has what's called a reminder, nudge reminder on the wheel. So I can drive for 20 or 30 seconds without touching anything, pedals or steering wheel, but I then get a warning up on the dashboard, apply light pressure to the steering wheel. All I have to do, just touch the wheel. It says, I'm still here. I'm still watching things because I saw the sign come up, so I've touched it. And those happen. Others have gone for a little camera inside the car, and it looks at your eyes, and it can tell where you're looking. And so if you look away or talk to someone, it will say, hang on, you're not looking at the road anymore. You need to look at the road. So these are driver assistance features which are designed to make sure that we stay in control of the car. Now with me, if I'm going on a journey, I will use the automated systems for probably 80 or 90% of the journey. On a motorway, just every so often, every 30 seconds, I'll nudge the wheel. That's it. Very rarely touch the pedals, very rarely steer, don't change lanes very often. So it's just a really nice, relaxing drive. I can settle down into it. You can move your legs into different positions, which saves you getting cramp or as stiff as you would be. Same with the back. You can sit at different angles. As long as you still can cover the brake pedal in an emergency or touch the wheel in an emergency, you can shuffle about as much as you want. But the next stage is full self-driving, and this is the one where it doesn't need you in the car. And this is a big leap, and this is why it's taking so much time. Not going to go into the methods. That's a totally separate subject. I've done several videos on that. I'll be doing another one soon because of advances that have come up recently. But we're talking about the principle here. So the principle of all these DAS, driver assistance systems, the lane keeping, the auto cruise control, the speed camera recognition, all of this, they're designed to help you relax a bit more and to make your travelling a bit more enjoyable. You don't have to do as much, and they are actually safer as well. But the next stage, which is full self-driving, is where you're not needed. You can literally sit in the back seat, go to sleep, and you can say to the car, voice recognition, take me to Cornwall, to Newquay Beach, and it'll do it. And so this is an absolute major leap. And for most people, they don't see any value in it. And for most people, there actually isn't. About 80% of my driving now is done on the auto assist features. It's called autopilot on my car. It's absolutely fine for me. I don't have to drive any on the motorway, use the wheel or pedals. Car does most of it. I just tell it every so often I'm here, keep an eye on it, make sure it's all right. But that's absolutely fine. And for me to spend any money on going to the next stage where the car can take over doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Half the time, when I'm driving along, I suddenly realise, oh, I'm actually driving. Oh, sorry, and switch the autopilot back on. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in control either way. So it's a big step to go to full self-driving. And what full self-driving is, it makes your car the equivalent of a train. Train, you get in, you sit down, feet up, cup of coffee, read, play video games, go to sleep, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Someone else is driving and they will get you to where you've bought a ticket to. That's it. So you've got a total disconnect now between the passenger inside and whoever's controlling the car. And this is a big move for a number of reasons, but for a number of people, not everyone. If, for example, you have a 1 hour commute every morning, a 1 hour commute every evening, and you are a busy worker, or if you're a rep on the road and you're going out to visit customers, you cannot, well, I was going to say you cannot. People do. They film them all the time. People using laptops and computers and mobile phones while they're driving. Yeah, that's totally illegal. But I'm going to say you cannot legally do work in your car while you're driving. And that's the key, is while you're driving. So imagine now a rep on the road who has a full self-drive. So he will get into his car and he will say, take me to Joe Bloggs, the builders. That's my first call. Put the address in. Now that driver then, the salesman, the sales engineer, whatever he is, can now do whatever he wants. He can sit in the back of the car. He can get all his papers out and prepare for the meeting. He can prepare all his quotes and everything else, check. He can make phone calls. He can grab a sandwich in the back. Doesn't matter. It's now productive time. And this is one of the reasons people will travel and commute on a train, not in a car. It's because it becomes productive time. So full self-driving is brilliant for people who work and need their cars just to get them to wherever it is they're going. And you could extend this to a GP if they're doing home visits. On the way there, the GP can be pulling up their medical history, getting in touch with people, checking with the hospital. I might have to have a bed. If you've got a bed vacant, she can be doing all of this on the way, so that when they get there, if the situation demands it, it's already planned for. So what full self-driving will do will open up a huge amount of productive time that we don't have at the moment. Although some stupid idiots do it, you can't use your mobile phone when you're driving. You can't use your laptop. You can't sort through papers. And no, you can't put makeup on. That's not a sexist thing, because there are men put makeup on as well. There are limitations. So the first thing full self-driving will do will be to free up a lot of time. And that is valuable. That is so valuable to companies. You can increase dead time. The second thing it will do, it will now make that car very, very, very much more difficult to crash. Full self-drive, believe it or not, is always going to be safer than a human driver. Human driver, as I've already said, you look over your shoulder, you can hit someone. How many times have people come to a roundabout, you look up, you set off, and oh, bang, you didn't realise the guy in front had stopped. You can't be looking in two places at once. Full self-drive can. About 70 to 80% of all accidents are human error. We will not be looking, sometimes genuinely, looking in the rear view mirror, you miss what's happening ahead of you. Sometimes you look over your shoulder, the guy in front stops. And sometimes your attention just drifts and you don't notice what's happening around you. But what it will do is it will drop down the number of accidents that happen, and it will drop down the number of injuries and the value of the damage that actually occurs. It's not going to stop accidents. Accidents will always happen. If you're following a lorry at 60 mile an hour, safe distance, and all of a sudden a tree falls down between you and the lorry, you're going to hit it. You can't stop. Not even Lewis Hamilton could stop if something falls right in front of you, or a load could come off a lorry. There are loads of things that can happen, and there's no way around them. You have something called a reaction time. So if at 40 mile an hour your reaction time is half a second, in that half second you'll travel 20-30 feet. So anything that happens in front of you within 20 or 30 feet, you're going to hit it. You physically can't stop. So there are accidents going to happen, but it's going to get rid of 70 or 80% of those occasions where human error caused that accident. And that's going to be a massive drop in accidents and damage. And that is something the insurance companies are going to love, because now it's much, much less likely that anyone's going to have an accident. It's better for the drivers, because at the moment, if you do have full self-drive, you don't actually need insurance, because the law in the UK, we already have a law for this, says that if you're using a self-driving system, a full self-driving system, the owner, the manufacturer or the designer, developer of the car takes legal responsibility for driving it. If you're sat in the back seat and you don't actually have a steering wheel, you can't be held liable if the car crashes. So the UK government has put that liability onto the manufacturers. And that's great, because it means that I don't need insurance anymore. The manufacturer of the vehicle must supply that with the full self-drive system. So all of a sudden, I've now got no insurance costs, and insurance is getting to be a big issue. Secondly, I'm much less likely to have an accident. And thirdly, I'm able to do things during the time that the car is driving me that I wouldn't normally be able to do. Very much like sitting on a plane. You can watch a film, you can read a book, you can sit and eat a meal, you can go to sleep, you can chat with it, whatever it is. It just frees up an awful lot of time. Now, for some people, that's not going to be worth the money. For an awful lot of people, it won't be worth the money. And so they're probably not going to do it initially. The problem is that if the insurance companies don't need to insure the cars which are full self-driving, then it means they're only insuring the cars that aren't or can't full self-drive. And that means that they are much more likely to have an accident, because everyone who's got full self-drive now can't have an accident. It leaves the people, 80% of the accidents will be caused by human error. So what's going to happen is very quickly the price of insurance is going to go up, because they're going to be left with all the people who don't want to or can't have full self-driving. So they're going to be more accident prone. And there'll be a transition for two reasons. The first one is it's going to be so much safer to have cars driving. The second one is money. It's going to be so much cheaper to let your car drive. So there will at some point be a transition, and that transition will be a financial one. When it gets too expensive to do what I've always been doing, I'll do whatever's cheaper. If it's cheaper to buy a car which has got full self-driving built into it, and I don't have to buy insurance, then I'll do that. I might choose not to use it, as long as it's got a steering wheel and pedals. But in time, if the liability is with the manufacturer, they know whether the car's driving or not, but they also know you can take over or crash it in those events. And so at some point, full self-driving will be you don't have a steering wheel, pedal or anything. And then you're going to get different cars. You're going to get cars with a table in the middle, forward and backwards facing seats. So you can sit around, have a picnic, have a chat, watch television, whatever it is while the car's driving. So for many of us at the moment, it's seen as a luxury. Over time, it will come in, and it's going to be an awful lot quicker than people think, because already they believe that they are safer. The reason it hasn't come in yet is that they know that as soon as they release it, someone is going to die. And it may be nothing to do with the car. The guy might have a heart attack, and he might be driving at the time in a full self-driving car. He's taken over and he crashes. And then it's going to be a nightmare in terms of the press. And this is why we need very, very good strict regulation coming in to make sure who is responsible for what and what's going to happen. But yeah, there will still be crashes with full self-driving. There will be deaths with full self-driving. They're unavoidable, absolutely. And so at the moment, people are holding back. 99.9% of the full self-driving is already there for an awful lot of your driving. There are just those occasions where it just doesn't know what to do. But some of the companies, Tesla's the main one, every single car that's ever been built, every Tesla does have full self-driving built into it. It's not used, and we'll make that. It's called ghost driving. And what that means is, while I'm driving along, even manually, my full self-driving, which I can't use, I can't select full self-driving, I've got autopilot, I can't use full self-driving, but there's a full self-driving program running in the background. And every time I turn the wheel, the full self-driving is going, what would I have done there? Why did he turn a wheel? When I come to a junction, the full self-drive will be calculating, what would I do here? And then it'll look at what I actually do in the real world. And I don't see this. This is all going on in the background, but it's ghosting, it's shadowing what I'm doing. And so it's learning all the time. And they reckon they're getting about 1.6 billion miles of videos and experience and data from all their cars on the road at the moment. And that is learning at a phenomenal pace with the advent of AI, artificial intelligence. It just learns. So the advancement is going to be really quick. It's going to be very soon that one of the companies will say, right, we're ready to risk it. We know what happened with Cruise. We know what happened with Waymo, not being a huge success. But they're not full self-driving. They're level 4. They don't need a driver in them, but they are what's called geo-fenced. They can't go everywhere. So it's a bit like putting a Docklands light railway. Only ever goes one route. That's all it can do. Pretty good, pretty safe for that. But sometime, probably later this year, early next year, the first of the licenses will be issued for full self-driving. Probably going to be very restricted, very carefully monitored. But then with the advances with the AI, it's going to take over very quickly. And at some point, the manufacturers are just going to put it on every single car. Why would you make a car that doesn't have full self-driving, knowing that you're now 4, 5, 6 times more likely to have an accident and kill the driver? Can't do it. So it'll start being built in. It'll become a standard feature, just like adaptive cruise control is, just like automatic lane keeping is, automatic emergency brake assist. It'll just become a feature on cars, and you won't be able to buy a car without it. Whether you use it will depend on whether the car still has a wheel and pedals. If it doesn't, you don't have any choice. You have to use it. If it does, you'll still have a choice whether to use it or not. But very quickly, that will become horrendously expensive. And in the end, you're just going to go, let's treat it like a train. I'm going to sit in the back. I'm going to watch a film. I'm going to do some work. Going to go to sleep. Going to have a lunch. And when we get there, I'll just hop out the car. Anyway, that's my prediction. So later this year, very early next year, the first of the licenses for full self-driving, proper full self-driving, not level 4, this is level 5, will be issued. I've got my feelings as to who it's going to be and where it's going to be, but I'll do another video on that a little bit nearer the time. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, just click the like button. If you'd like to see more, please click subscribe and the notification bell. I'm Dave.